Okay. Good day, everyone. Welcome to this discussion. My name is Nevzat Çelik, and I am the director of Paris Advanced Research Center. Today, we are honored to host Matúš Mišík, an associate professor at the Department of Political Science at Comenius University. We will be discussing securing energy supply for the European Union. Welcome, Professor, and thank you for accepting our invitation. Could you briefly tell us about your background and your work research on energy security?
Thank you very much for having me today. It's a pleasure. So, kind of my work path followed the policy path of energy security, energy transition of the European Union. So that's what I focus on. I'm mostly analyzing Central and Eastern European countries, so those countries that entered the European Union in 2004. And when I said that my path kind of follows the policy development, I meant that first I focused on energy policy. After the 2009 gas crisis, there was a first kind of bigger, before 2022, it was considered to be the energy crisis. And then many countries of the region of the Central and Eastern Europe started to focus on energy security issues. And then there was some development, which I will be talking about. And following the 2016 Paris Agreement, the whole EU kind of started to look other direction, started to focus on decarbonization and climate policy, what has changed very sharply in February February of last year, after the invasion. So, kind of, I also switched back to the to energy security, but what is a little bit different these days, and again I will be talking about that a little later, is that now the decarbonization and energy security dimensions are interlinked at the EU level. So so now energy security, decarbonization actually means energy security. So that's what I'm also studying these days.
Great. Could you let's dive into our main topic? Could you explain the current state of energy supply security in the EU, and what are the primary challenges we face? And
this current situation is very, very different from what it was only like a year and a half ago. So now the most efforts focus on making sure that the European Union has enough energy, and that this energy doesn't come from Russia. Basically, these are two main concerns when it comes to energy policy, and this is very closely connected to efforts to decarbonize European economy, meaning to use as little fossil fuels as possible and to use as much renewables as possible, solar, wind, geothermal even these days. So this is very closely connected, these two issues, because renewables have to be are produced domestically. They are produced in the European Union. They don't have to be somehow imported. That's a big contrast to fossil fuels that have to be imported in most cases. Everything is imported to the EU, and the EU's dependency on fossil fuels from abroad is very high. In natural gas is around, I have a graph in my presentation, 80-90%. So this while renewables are still produced domestically, meaning that we have the solar power plants, we have the wind turbines. Very important dimension for this is the need to get access to materials from which these domestic renewables are created. So meaning that the EU still needs to import materials to create those wind turbines, create those wind.
And sorry to interrupt you. These materials, are they made it in Europe, or let's say European Union, or they are imported?
Most of them are imported, and that's currently the biggest challenge. Because before last year, there was a lot of awareness about this. There was a lot of awareness about this kind of dependency within the European Union, but the idea was, or the feeling was, that we still have some time, because even in 2021, the idea of decarbonization was much more smoother, let's put it this way. So the trajectory of change was much less steep than is now, because now we want to really get rid of, or the EU wants to get rid of fossil fuels. But like a year and a half ago, the perspective was that we still kind of have time. So although there are problems with or there are some limitations to supplying of what is called rare earths and other metals that are needed for renewables, there was kind of a feeling that we this is not very urgent. But since the invasion, this became very urgent, because the EU doesn't have capacity to build so many, I mean, technically, that doesn't have so many sources to be able to build so many solar power plants or to build so many wind turbines, because there is not enough materials for this. And the Commission wrote a paper on this already back in 2016, but as I mentioned, the urgency wasn't there that much at that point. It's much more urgent these days. And one way how the Commission approached this, and also many countries have approached this, is the idea to decrease the amount of energy that we need, that we consume. So because we will need, it's not about energy efficiency, it's about energy savings. So the less energy the EU uses, the less dependent it is on Russian supplies, the less dependent it is on general fossil supplies, but the less it is also dependent on these new type of problems or new types of materials that are needed for renewables.
Thank you. It's important to know about it. And let's see what policies does the European Union currently have in place to ensure the security of the energy supply. And in your opinion, I guess you have a PowerPoint. I would love to see it. And I read your article. It was fascinating. Please go ahead. And I would love to see how affecting these policies on energy.
Okay. I'm not sure how long it will be, because once I started, I wanted to put as much information in as possible. So maybe it's a little too late. So please stop me if I will be talking too much.
Don't worry.
Sorry. So the European Union has had energy and climate policy for decades now. Basically, some fractions of energy policy can be found back in the 60s already. And then during the late 80s and 1990s, there was a lot of development when it comes to internal energy market, meaning that there was a lot of policy development that's aimed to make sure that there is an energy market within the whole European Union, that customers can freely choose their suppliers, and there will be competition between suppliers, not only within one country, but also within many countries. This hasn't really happened to the level of some ideal views, but the internal market is happening. But the assumption here is that there will be enough energy within the European Union as such, so the supply of energy into the internal market will not be a problem. And this kind of has shown to be not really the case, and that there is a problem with energy supplies to Europe, which is actually very much dependent on these supplies from outside of its borders. And because of the focus on the internal market, energy security was never an issue. at least until 2009, when there was a crisis, a gas crisis, when Russian supplies were interrupted for a couple of days, almost 20, so quite few days in the middle of the heating season. So this was at the beginning of 2009. And then some countries were very vocal about the need to change something, to develop the policy more. Sorry, but not all of them. So many countries were against this, and at the end, nothing really happened when it comes to the relationship between member states and their energy suppliers.
So they are always they don't have always one policy. I mean, still country can be independent on the energy supply.
Oh yeah, I mean, every member country can have their own energy policy. There hasn't been a integration in this area. Sorry, I developed nasty cough. So the Lisbon Treaty actually put it down that member states are responsible for their own energy sources. Sorry. Okay, I don't know what is happening actually. So so now member states can develop their own relationships with their energy suppliers. So as a result, for example, Germany can have a totally different energy relationship with other countries than for example, Slovakia.
And we also have seen the many news and also activists were against the policy of German energy supply is in internal country about, you know, to having more coal mining in Germany. And I think it has been developed since the invasion of Russia to Ukraine, in Ukraine. And this has been also criticizing in many part of green activists. And I would love to also see after your presentation, how is related and how is serious about these policies. And I'm sure that the energy is important not only for Germany, but all over the world.
So Germany is one of very few countries in Europe that still have a large coal reserves that it's willing to mine. Many countries have coal reserves, but they are not really willing to mine them because coal is very dirty from the perspective of greenhouse gases. So there's a lot of carbon gases and other type of gases released. So this is very bad for climate goals. So when you want to decrease your carbon emissions, the first thing you should do is to get rid of coal. This is what has been done by many countries within the European Union. Almost all of them, Germany, Czech Republic, Poland, are very few. There's also Hungary and also Slovakia until the end of this year. So most countries get rid of coal from their electricity generation already, or they are in the process and they are kind of finalizing the process. What is different with Germany is that while Germany has coal, it also doesn't like nuclear power. So you need to get your electricity from somewhere, and Germans decided that this will come. Their electricity will come from coal and gas, and not from and renewables, of course, but not from nuclear. But now the situation was very complicated for Germany in 2022. Because on the one hand, they kind of lost access to cheap Russian gas. The other gas become very expensive. And they decided to 2022 was also the deadline for shutting down their remaining nuclear facilities. So what they did is that they actually prolonged the lifespan of a couple of 3 or 4 nuclear power plants by 4 months. to help the electricity system during stability, to support the stability of nuclear system during winter.
Sorry, can you bring your microphone more in?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I mean, paradoxical situation happened in April. This was already now at the beginning of May, when Germany doesn't have nuclear anymore, and because they don't like it, the political decision that they don't want a nuclear for so many reasons, but they didn't have enough domestic capacity, so they were importing a lot of electricity already in May from France, where most of the electricity comes from nuclear. So they were actually importing, or they are still importing, electricity that is produced in nuclear reactors, but it's not in Germany, it's in France.
That's strange. I mean, I didn't know, to be honestly. So in one hand, they are closing their nuclear power, and they are following the policy, even the 5-6 months prolonging the closing all of them. But at the same time, to have enough energy, if I'm not misunderstanding, they are exporting energy from France, which come from nuclear power also.
I think they're. I mean, the ultimate goal here for Germany is to, is to create all their electricity from renewables, and probably some coal, gas, and also coal at this point still. But they need to kind of adjust. They need to develop new capacities, new generation capacities, which they don't have yet, and there are some seasonal peaks, and the electricity grid has a very specific seasonal characteristic. So to overcome, to get enough, their hands of enough electricity, they have to import it. It's also connected to the fact that the whole European grid is interconnected. So you have to be very careful about its stability, because if it's not stable enough in one country, then the instability can be exported to other countries, and then the whole thing can actually there can be a blackout in the whole European Union. So everybody is very, very careful, and there are very, very strong rules connected to concerning stability, the frequency, and everything, because you need your 50 hertz. 49 hertz is like the end of the world for European grid, and for 51 hertz is also terrible. A couple of years ago, there was for a couple of minutes there was 49.8 hertz in the system, the frequency, and there was incredible lot of problems connected to that, and it was caused also actually by one single power plant, the problem. So this is a very fragile system, because electricity is needed for everything, for a computer, for watches, and the frequency is very important. So everybody's keeping everybody's trying to keep this system very, very stable. And when you enter a huge change into the system, like for example shutting down of several reactors in Germany, then this has consequences to the whole European Union, and actually beyond. Also, some other countries are not members of European Union are connected to this grid, including Ukraine, actually, since last April, I think. So there are really a lot of strong rules how to keep this stable, and how to kind of interlink the technical part of the thing with the political part, which is again connected to the fact that each country can choose from where it will have its electricity or any other energy source, whether they will use nuclear or whether they will use coal. So I would just continue my presentation. Is this okay?
We are watching. Yeah.
So this is a graph of how things what is the price of natural gas on the main.
Can you show us? I don't see it.
I did go. Sometimes it happens. So
Okay.
let's hope it now it works. This is the development of the price for natural gas. It's per megawatt hour on the Dutch Beurs, which kind of one of the main bourses or exchanges where gas is bought in Europe. This kind of a reference place. So this is where liquefied natural gas is being sold. So that's the gas that it's being shipped by big ships. It's compressed, cooled down to minus 69 degrees Celsius, and then shipped, and then it's turned into so-called like regular gas, pipeline gas that can be used for whatever. And the interesting part here is that this price is connected also to the price of other types of gases, or this kind of a reference price. So when country like Germany is or other countries are concluding contracts for gas from pipeline, so then this price is somehow also included in that price. We don't know exact how much or what is the exact formula, because this is considered to be trade secret. But when this price goes up, all price of all gas prices of all gas goes up. So maybe you can see from the graph, like standard price is around 19-20 euros per megawatt hour. That was a standard price until kind of 2021, and then it slowly started to grow. And during last summer, it was more than 300 euros per megawatt hour, which means like 18-19 times higher than was long-term average. This means that when you want to...
So it was on the summit. The high level is like October. No, it's like August.
It's like August, yeah. It was August. It's a little paradoxical, because then you think that you wouldn't need so much gas in August. That's because true. Gas is mostly for heating, but this gas was used for underground storage. So this was gas that was stored in Europe, in European Union, for the winter, actually.
I see.
Because during the winter you need more gas than your import, than your system is able to provide to you. So the import system doesn't have the capacity to cover your whole needs during winter time. So what you do is that you have another system. You have a underground storage from which you withdraw, and then the combination of different sources of gas cover your winter needs, because during the winter the needs are really much higher than during the summer. But if you would create infrastructure that is able to cover your winter needs, this one would be totally underutilized during summer. So that doesn't make a lot of sense from money perspective. So that's why they came up with this solution that during winter they will inject gas into the underground storages, which is usually a depleted natural gas source. So at one point, there was gas found under the ground, and once they took it out, then they started to use the same area to inject gas during winter and withdraw it during inject during summer and withdraw it during winter to cover the increased demand for heating. Basically, that's the biggest item there. So these prices have been mirrored in prices for end customers. So means for you and me, they were a little bit the increase of prices for end customers were not this steep, because end customers, inhabitants, are so-called protected customers. What means that the prices are regulated. So the prices wholesale, these are wholesale prices, of course. They are not fully mirrored in the retail prices for households or small and medium enterprises, or hospitals and actors like those, or consumers like those. but somebody had to pay, so we are usually paying the extra money from taxes and from the EU funds and through those mechanisms. So these prices actually have been paid and are still being paid by the end consumers in different ways, of course. And there were several reasons why this happened. So I don't want to go into those because that's for at least for 10 minutes.
And one last question for this part. Do you think that the price of the gas will increase or decrease to coming, I mean, the 2023?
Yeah, honestly, if I would know that, I would be very rich, really rich, because yesterday and the day before yesterday there was news in the in Reuters, brought by Reuters, but I think also other channels about the bonuses of the traders. So people who did this trading in trading like this in London. Even the mid-level traders, they were getting bonuses of 5 to 7 million euros. Oh, so that's quite a lot of money. But I think that we won't see any spike like this one in the future anymore. We'll probably see different spikes in areas where we don't even know there are spikes possible. Probably something in connection to those special materials that are needed for renewable energy sources like solar panels and wind turbines. But the EU has already kind of made arrangements that will probably prevent these spikes in the future. So this was caused to a large extent by Gazprom's approach to their underground storages in Germany, and there was not enough gas in the storage during the summer of 2022, because Gazprom was not putting enough gas into the storage that year or the year before, and this it seems that this was a strategy, so there wouldn't be enough gas in the storages during the summer 22, so that increased the demand hugely. So there was a lot of demand for natural gas, and together with the post-pandemic increase of demand worldwide, this created a lot of pressure on demand, on supply. So then the prices went crazy because there was a lot of demand and not so much supply. So this is the spike. But now we are kind of sort of going back. The gas is around 33 euros per megawatt hours, which is still like 1.5 times more than the long-term average, but it's already much better than I mean, it's wonderful compared to last year. Do you see a different graph or
no? Can you go further? I don't. We are still seeing this. Okay, now it's okay.
Yeah, sorry, I will probably have to do this every single time. I won't be talking. The information on the right, the graphs on the right are connected to the underground storages. One thing that is interesting is that if you can see the graph on the upper right part of the screen, you can see how little gas there was in 2022 in comparison to 2020, for example. So there was really not that much gas, and this was very troublesome. And this is one of the reasons why the price went.
But I'm sorry to disturb you. This graphic, it shows all around Europe.
Yes, okay. It's aggregated. But because Germany is the biggest consumer of natural gas in the European Union, it has also the biggest storages. So when something happens in Germany, that has consequences for the whole Europe. If for nothing else, because the whole Europe is kind of buying the gas on the same spot, on the same place in the Netherlands, or if not there, then it's somehow connected to that Netherlands exchange. So if something happens in Germany, then this has consequences for natural gas in the whole European Union. So currently, fortunately, we see the opposite development, that there is a lot of gas still in Germany, in German underground storages after this winter, which was very mild. So because of that, the price went down, because Germans are not buying, Italians are not buying that much, other countries are not buying, so the price went down.
And if they don't buy, how they are securing their energy?
They're still buying, but not that much. I mean, compared to last year, there is so much more gas. For example, after it's the other graph actually. I just need to do it this way.
Okay.
I don't think so that you will be.
Okay,
now we probably should see it. So compared to last year, that was kind of the end of heating season last year, with all the part with all the numbers. So we can see that there was 286 terawatt hours approximately. I just put the mouse on a random place. Around 200, it's like 25% approximately were full, the underground storages. And if you go to the very right part of the graph, then you can see that it was the graphs, the line is much higher than the blue one. The blue line is much higher this year than the previous line. Previous year, it's about the it's about the gray line, which is 500 terawatt hours. So this year there was almost 40% more gas is in underground storages, like 35% more gas. So more than double.
I'm sorry, all these guys still come from Russia, or
No.
as we see from the news from Qatar or other countries?
So this gas comes from many sources. Some of them, I mean, physically, some of the gas is still coming from Russia, because there is still some gas coming, because this is the whole EU. So there is still gas coming to Slovakia, to Hungary, to Czech Republic, some, but still from Russia. So some of it is from Russia, but only very few. Much more gas is coming from US, from Norway. It's coming much more gas. Norway is the biggest source of gas for Germany in 2020, 22.
You mentioned about USA. Does it cost different way to import gas from Russia and coming from USA or Europe?
Not really. I mean, it's very complicated question, because on the one hand, the prices that I showed on the previous graph, that's kind of the overall. It's kind of the European price. Let's call it the European price. And this price, this is a price for gas coming via ships. So not via pipelines, but via ships from Qatar, from the US, from Africa, from many countries. And then it's kind of a reference price. So mostly LNG, this liquefied natural gas. But when you have when you are directly connected with a pipeline to your supplier, like for example, Germany is used to, I mean, still is, but used to be with or is with Russia, then usually this European price is somehow reflected in that price of that gas, but policy and politics is very much involved in this. So it's often, especially with Russia, it used to be that the price was a result of geopolitics more than of economic logic. And very good example is that important part of the price is the transportation, of course. And when it comes to gas that is being transported by pipelines, this transportation is the further away you go, the more you have to pay for transportation, because it is actually quite costly. The gas doesn't flow itself; you have to push it, and this is you need electricity to push the gas, and it's a whole process. So it's very expensive. So one would think that, for example, gas for Germany has to be more expensive than gas for Lithuania or Latvia, because Lithuania and Latvia is so much closer to Russia than Germany. But no, Lithuania used to have the most expensive gas of all EU member states in 2014. And that was a reason why actually Lithuania switched to LNG. They built a terminal that allows them to bring LNG, and they're very happy about that now, actually.
Okay, we can go to, I think, the next.
Oh, okay. Sorry, this is
yeah.
So the graph on the right upper corner, in the right upper corner, is the dependency. This is overall dependency of the EU on external energy sources, meaning that in 2019, almost 61% of all energy consumed in the European Union was imported from outside of the European Union. This includes
okay, 60%.
60%. All energy.
And I don't see the detail, but it's like 90. Before 2000, it was around less than 50.
Yeah, but this is I mean, even 40, 49, even 50 in 1990 is a large number. This was caused mostly by decreased domestic production, because Denmark used to be a huge producer and also exporter.
And why not? Why not now?
Oh, because they just depleted their sources. They don't have any more gas. Okay. They do have, but for example, also the Netherlands used to be a huge exporter, but for example, they had to stop producing gas from one huge field close to a city called Groningen, because there were some geological concerns that the whole city will just disappear in the sea, because there was they took so much gas from underneath the city that the land wouldn't support. It was just geologically weak, the whole area, so they had to stop taking out more gas from underneath the city or underneath the sea next to the city. So because of this, there is not so much production. Okay. For example, countries like Slovakia or Czech Republic, we also used to and still produce some gas, some oil, but these are like 2-3% tops of consumption, and like there are not many countries in the European Union are rich when it comes to fossil fuels. The exception is coal, but coal is very, very dirty, so nobody really wants coal. There is a lot of coal in Poland. Like the whole Poland is basically coal.
Oh.
And also Germany, there is really a lot of coal in Germany, but they're also not mining they're using also other energy sources because of the climate consequences for burning so much coal, and they want to do it differently. Okay, so I will jump to, okay, so this is my last slide, actually. So what we have seen recently is that the member states of the European agreed on some kind of a system to buy natural gas together. So until now, the system was that every single retailer or company, gas company, and especially gas company, every single gas company would go to the market, to the international market, would go to the Dutch exchange, and they would buy gas. So when there was a lot of demand, like the previous year, everybody would go there, and everybody would try to get the gas, and the prices went high very much. So the obvious, because every single buyer, every single gas company was kind of sort of small compared to the big gas suppliers compared to Gazprom, compared to American gas companies. Although, in spite of the fact that these companies had a lot of money, but they were still kind of small. So the idea was that the European Union should kind of join forces. I mean, they should create some one agency that would buy gas for everybody. So these smaller gas companies wouldn't compete, but there would be an aggregated demand. There would be some kind of an agency or some kind of something, like some entity that would say that the EU needs this amount of gas, let's say, I don't know, 50 billion cubic meters, which is 11-12% of consumption a year, yearly consumption. And then if you want to buy 50 billion cubic meters, that's a little different story than when Slovakia needs 4 billion a year. So actually Germany consumes 80 billion cubic meters of gas a year approximately. So the idea is that this would give a much stronger position to this entity. So such entity was created this year. And there was already a first call for, I think it was like 12 billion cubic meters, which is not that much. But the idea is that member states agreed that they will together buy 15% of gas that is necessary for the underground storages. And this is not that much. This is approximately 5% of the overall consumption, but it's still something, and it's still a very important first step. So the idea is that this EU agency would aggregate all demand. So I think now it was like more than 100 smaller companies would say that we want this amount, we want this amount. They would just put it into one big box and say that, okay, we want to buy 11 billion cubic meters. Tell me your price. And this is very, very strong negotiation position, because those 11 billion cubic meters is a couple of hundreds of millions of euros. So when you want to, many companies want to buy 10 billion cubic meters in one go, right? It's just, like very, very, very simple from everybody's perspective. A lot of money involved. So the EU is kind of using its economic power to get better gas price on the global market.
Oh, this is very interesting. Thank you for your explaining. Just making me to understand better for our audience. So, as far as I know, the EU tried to have its energy security position with its members. And my question now, do they all agree? Second, as I see from your graphic, I think they are expanding storage, and also with the Russia, I mean the sanction against Russia, of course, is including the gas. How it will work? For example, Hungary is already okay with this sanction or other members?
So there are no sanctions actually against Russia in natural gas sector. There is no.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting actually, and this comes down to the differences between member states. So some member states wanna still. I mean, there is no formal obstacle why member states cannot use natural gas from Russia, and many do actually still, because sanctions would be this kind of obstacle, this kind of formal obstacle, but there are no sanctions against Russia in natural gas area. So we don't really know why there are no.
Because they really need it. I mean, why they do not make sanction? Because when you buy gas from Russia, you're still paying the money.
Yeah, but now it's probably much. We don't know how much money. That's actually very interesting because of the trade secret nature of the contracts. But this the cost of Russian gas is somehow connected to a certain level, connected to the the Dutch exchange price. So now Russia is getting much less gas because gas is cheaper at the global level, let's call it, so, or at the European level. So also the Russia is getting much less money for its gas. But the reason why there are no sanctions is probably because some member states were strongly against, because they think that maybe they have a special price for natural gas, or there are some other things. I mean, it's really difficult to say why Hungary is against some of the, or is very negative or very critical towards some of the proposed sanctions, like we saw with oil. It can be that, I don't know, that they like Russian oil because it's cheaper, because it's cheaper to refine. So there can be a lot of reasons. We don't really, there are no public information why this is so. It can be also connected to geopolitics, that Hungary somehow wants to do a favor to Russia, and because this is still a very important source of income for Russia, energy exported to the EU, because it still exports some oil, to some countries. There's some oil being exported to Slovakia, Hungary, and I think that's it. Also Czech Republic, sorry. And there is also some gas exported, not that much, but it's a little bit more than one would expect at this point. Still like tens of billions of cubic meters a year, which is maybe not tens of, but quite few billion cubic meters. So it's not zero.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that for last year and couple of months, the EU is talking about getting rid of Russian supplies, EU member states are still buying Russian gas and Russian oil.
My last question, and it was really great to listen to you. We are almost going to be 1 hour. And I mean, all the conversation we did since the Russian invade Ukraine, the energy became a main topic in the world, and especially in Europe. What really European Union think for future for renewable energy? Do they have policy and the deadline?
So the ultimate deadline for decarbonization of European economy is 2050. And this means that in 2050, the EU aims to produce less emissions of carbon than the environment is able to absorb. So, you have trees, you have grass, you have other life entities that consume carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So the environment has some kind of a natural possibility to absorb carbon dioxide. So this is called so-called carbon sink. So trees consume carbon dioxide and then release oxygen. So you, as a man, as society, as humans, we still can produce some kind of some level of carbon dioxide, in order to have the very same amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, because the environment itself is able to get rid of some of the carbon dioxide. It's quite a lot, actually. I don't know the exact numbers for the whole European Union, but for example, in the case of Slovakia, it's 7 million tons a year of carbon dioxide. Currently, Slovakia produces 30 plus million tons of carbon dioxide, so we are kind of minus 23. And we need to go to the zero. So Slovakia can produce 7 million tons of carbon dioxide and still kind of at the end of the year produce bring non-new carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So this is the ultimate goal, to produce only as much carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases as the nature is able to absorb. So this was done because of the climate reason. So this was done so the Europe would contribute to mitigation of climate changes and would contribute to decreasing the global slowing down the increase of global temperature. But then after the invasion, another important dimension to this was added, and that's the energy security. So that these domestic energy sources, renewables, they are not only important for this, but they are important also for the energy security reasons. So now we are looking towards 2030 as very important, a very important deadline. And the European Union actually approved a law in 2021 already that says that in 2030, the EU needs to decrease emissions of greenhouse gases by 55% compared to the year 1990, which is a reference year. So there is, and this will require a lot of efforts because it's really difficult to do this amount of decrease and still use coal for electricity generation, for example, which Germany and Poland will still be using at the time. So 2030 should see very important change already, although the ultimate goal is 2050. And the reason why this is the ultimate goal, this particular year, is that there is a consensus among scientists that that there will be some changes in 2050 that will be irreversible after this year. So if we want to slow down the increase of global temperature by 2050, then afterwards it won't be really possible.
So every individual has responsibility for this, in fact.
Of course. I mean,
we have a lot of advertisement and promotion about making lower emission in Paris, in France. And well, I was appreciated to listen to you. It seems to us every individual, every country has to work environment and like make less emission. And I hope it will work. It is not only for energy security, but all our life for our children, energy still seem an important element for our future.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much for accepting us. It was a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and have a good day.
I hope to see you in Paris.
Yeah. Hope to see you soon.